What's up, everybody? I'm here a couple of minutes late on this live stream, about 5 minutes late. I apologize for that, but welcome to this Shenmue stream. In this stream in particular, I wanted to focus on basically the demo that just came out. I did a live stream last night, 12 a.m., so basically today. So this is my second stream of the day, and I've had a chance to play the Shenmue backer demo a couple of times and get really familiar with the game, with the world, and have basically interaction with everything that I wanted to have. So today I wanted to speak about the combat system, how much it's changed, and why I basically am starting to really appreciate the changes that it's made and the fact that I like it. So welcome to this stream if you're joining live. If not, I'll re-upload it a little bit later. So thank you for joining, Ederlendale. Hi, nice to see you. I'm not seeing the chat come up on this side like it normally would, so that's a bit strange. But usually I would see the chat come up, so I'm wondering if I'm having a glitch. But I'll just say hello real quick, and it's not coming up here, so I'll worry about that later. Or maybe it is. It's just teeny tiny when it comes to the text. So, whatever. Alright. So, let's get started because I don't want to delay any further with the backer trial demo and my comments on it. So, again, guys, welcome. Let me hit the button a couple times. And if my video freezes, I'll take a quick second. I won't log off, because occasionally also my system tends to freeze with the video since I've got so many graphics and stuff going on in the actual stream that it sometimes just freezes me, and I'll be like, hey, and then I'm stuck for a second. But I'll be able, without stopping the stream, I'll get off and come right back on. So welcome everyone who's watching, and here we go, new game. So I love this loading screen, by the way. I really do think that it being the only loading screen, it's a shame that we don't see any kind of like location loading like we used to in the classic games, but it's nice that it's actually there, and it brings you to the Phoenix Mirror, and it just gets you to prepare to immerse yourself in the world of Shenmue 3, which is just amazing. One video that I'm sure most of you guys have already seen is James Reener's video live stream, and it was just heartwarming because he has been involved with this series since like pretty much since it came out in the Dreamcast days, and it's changed his life. And the fact that him and everyone else who supported the series can actually realize the fact that this game is now a reality. I mean, we're this close, and look, we're pretty much here. I'm playing a demo of Shenmue 3, something that at least a few years ago, before 2015, we thought it was an impossibility. So I left the Japanese dialogue on. I'm not sure if you can hear it. Let me see if I can raise the volume. Give me a quick second. I'll raise it just a bit so you can hear it. But there we go. So now what I'm going to do in this particular trial is that, you know, I'm sure you guys have seen plenty of streams. If not, you're just going to see me go through this quick. But for the most part, the mechanics of the fighting system have changed a lot in the past at least 18 years since the development of the last two Shenmue games. Now, in particular, the engine that was used previously was the Virtua Fighter engine that was adapted slightly for Shenmue. Now, the pros of that engine was that it was a very deep engine with many different types of fighting moves and styles that you can adapt with Ryo himself and learn and pick it up on the way, that actually fit and was very familiar to those that have ever played the Virtua Fighter series. And because the original concept of Shenmue, if you don't know, was for it to be a Virtua Fighter RPG game. But going this far into the development in this many years, and since Yu Suzuki pretty much left Sega but licensed the rights to this game from Sega, the engine itself, and I'm like kind of straight progressing to the story because I want to start this first fight with this character with a scar on his face, which I should have said spoiler warning. That's for this whole video. If you have not seen this, which I'm assuming that you have, and if you're in this, you probably knew you were going to get spoiled. This game is, I'm just going to pretty much fly through the small bits of the story that this game has. So in this game, and this fighting engine is interesting that they've adopted here because, of course, it had to be developed somewhat from scratch. And it's familiar. It harkens back to a couple of other games that have similar fighting styles, but it really seems tailored, at least in this game, it really seems tailored to the one-on-one combat style. And we don't know if there's multiple character fights or anything like that, but at least from a one-on-one perspective, it looks like it's really tailored for that. But it's not it's not an easy engine, and that's what actually kind of grabs my attention. Now, as you see here, it's just hit the front-facing buttons to attack, right? And it doesn't tell you in this demo what they actually do. And then it says try pressing the right trigger. Even then, they're like, just try it, but they're not telling you what it does. They're just saying, hey, it might be cool. And then eat up before fighting, which the food mechanic is another aspect of fighting that was developed and pretty much is pretty interesting and an integral part of being able to win combat. Hey, Ciao Caesar Headbanger, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Good evening as well. So here we go. Now this is basically the character that you have to defeat in this demo, and he's a talented fighter. But if you think you're gonna just button mash or win just simply by mashing the buttons and saying your best, it's very different. Even blocking, you tend to get damaged pretty easily. So I've developed a strategy after a couple of times playing, is wait till get your distance from the characters, let them move, and then when they run towards you, hit them with an elbow assault or a quick strike before they have time to react. Now, unfortunately, without any training, you're going to be a little bit slower and nowhere near as strong as you can potentially be after a day of training. So I'm pretty much anticipating that this guy's going to finish me off. There's no way I'm going to win this battle. But I'm trying to keep my distance. And of course, elbow assault is my go-to. It was my go-to back in the Dreamcast days. It really takes him out. As you can see, with no training whatsoever, I've pretty much tackled him and beat him up to almost lose. But he pretty much overwhelmed me anyway. And that's actually with no training. And that's kind of difficult. But he should be difficult. You just started this game. You haven't trained with anybody. And this seems to be a sort of different refinement to your martial arts to say, hey, if you want to get better, you got to train. And that's what I like. I actually do like the fact that, okay, you're starting from scratch again. You got to know the importance of combat. But imagine, especially for all those Dreamcast players that are coming after knowing and being familiar with the series for so many years, jumping back in and saying, I got this, I know how to do these fights. And especially if you've had damn near 20 years of training in Shenmue, if it had a similar or the same fighting engine, you'd jump in and just be like finishing everybody off like, yeah, this is a piece of cake. But then that could rob a little bit of that immersion and that fun, because you're just, it's almost so nostalgic that you almost feel like the nostalgia also is the fact that you're that damn good at beating everyone. So switching the fighting engine, although disappointing to some, and it's like no throw moves, and I don't believe you ever really had blocking. You could only really dodge in the first couple of Shenmues. Now you have blocking, but even the blocking doesn't help you completely. It's a whole new strategy. Another thing that changed in this fighting engine is the fact that you can't refill your energy gauge. Now that's something that I did all the time when I would be fighting those extra difficult fights in Shenmue, in both of them, is when I'm getting overwhelmed, I'm going to back off and I'm going to wait for my energy to regain itself during the fight, so that while my opponent's energy never goes up and pretty much I could just start like I was an expert, my energy's filled all the way up after just dodging and moving around. Even though I'm doing a lot of footwork, he just regains his energy, and then you're pretty much finishing him off from the start, and as if you just started the match and your opponent's with like half energy. So that's not fair. So the engine here pretty much says, no, you start off with a limited amount of energy, and as you see, the energy gauge doesn't leave not even the overworld when you're walking around or doing anything, because you constantly have to be thinking about it. Before you even enter a fight, you have to take your energy gauge into consideration, because you're not going to fill it automatically. It's going to drain. This is why I'm walking faster, because if you actually walked slower, if you actually walk slower like the older games, you would want to run. And I would run all over Shenmue and Shenmue 2. And I would find myself pretty much just zipping through everything. But it's like almost he had an unlimited amount of stamina, which was in itself needed, because the world was so huge. You need to be able to run around in that giant map. Well, here I can tell that Ryo's walking faster so that you can actually still get around fairly quickly, and then when you run, they develop the mechanic that you're actually getting tired. So imagine sprinting for like half a mile like you used to do in Shenmue 2, but then that drains your energy, so when you prepare for a fight, you're unbelievably tired and you're probably going to get beat. So that in itself is a little bit, I think, immersive in the right way, because now you're feeling the effects of lost stamina. It pulls you into that world, so now you're thinking about healing yourself. You're thinking about, before I fight, I gotta be prepared. In fact, what I'm going through right now in the story is the fact that I gotta beat that merchant, but my health is low after I fought him and he completely destroyed me. So I obviously need to train. So the importance of training is really brought back, because there's a need to train in the first couple of Shenmues and to learn more moves and actually become more powerful. But especially in specific fights, sometimes it almost feels like it's unnecessary, because you're leveling up as you fight in the first couple of Shenmues, and then you can get away with possibly not training that much for the whole time. So I'm gonna spar here because it's absolutely necessary. To beat that guy, you need to become better at your moves. My favorite move in Shenmue 1, Shenmue 2, and in the Shenmue 3 backer demo is definitely elbow assault, which you see right there. And now I want to improve the force of this move as much as possible. In order to do that, you have to pretty much train it while you're fighting this guy. So you just keep practicing it. So rather than those lonely sparring sessions that you had in Shenmue, where you would just find a nice park to train on, you could actually spar and improve the moves. And as you see my levels of the elbow assault going up. Now all I'm focusing on is just practicing the elbow assault. Now I missed that time, but I want to basically perfect this move as much as possible. And while I do this, I'm actually getting used to moving around, like moving around in this fighting engine, which always puts the person over your shoulder. And that way you can focus on just your opponent and nobody else. And when you're actually training like this as well, you also are based on what your energy level is. So the more energy that you do have, like let's say you ate before sparring, the longer your training session will be, which is important because you want to make sure that, hey, I did pretty well actually with being distracted with great, but you also want to make sure that you have as long of a training session as possible so that your kung fu and your attack power goes up per training session, because if not, you'll just have to keep going. So I'm going to keep going because I want to get the elbow assault to be as powerful as possible, and that's done by leveling up that one attack move. Once you're leveled up as much as possible with an attack move, it'll say that you're a master at whatever that move is. And I'm only doing elbow assault, but by pressing the right shoulder button, I can also switch what move that I want to practice. So I'm practicing elbow assault, but I hit the trigger button, and now I'm practicing counter elbow assault by pressing the on-screen commands that come up. But I'm going to focus on elbow assault because that is how I'm going to beat pretty much everyone who I've got to face, by getting my one move as lethal as possible. You know what? I do want to see what happens when you acquire new moves and train with them. And I'm pretty sure that if you acquire new moves, you come here and you can level it up in this this session as much as I'm doing. I'm at level 9 with the elbow assault because this was a move that also in the original Shenmue, like I said, it was one move that I trained unbelievably well and unbelievably hard, because that was pretty much my default move when facing almost all of the opponents that I had to face in both Shenmue games, because the move itself is so powerful it could basically knock down your opponent. I did one slow 7 great, and now my attack power is going up. I want to do this one more time so that I can get his elbow assault mastered. Then we're gonna move on to get his endurance up, so I could last a little bit longer in a fight. And then we'll try to beat a couple of masters in this temple before we go back and face that merchant who we nearly defeated in the previous version. So it looks like, actually, without even trying, it looks like I mastered the elbow assault. So now I'm going to do the counter elbow assault and master that as much as possible, because I think it's a move that could also knock down your opponent pretty well. But this is going to be my last sparring match, and then I'm going to do the other training courses and then talk to you guys about what about these changes that I like so much, because it also feels very different. No throw moves. Some of the moves themselves, I mean, I think they're a little bit floaty in connecting. Like, it's almost like even when you hit someone, it doesn't have an impact or an oomph. It just kind of like almost like seems to pass through their opponents. But I think that's deceptive. I think that they do have connection and reaction. It just looks that floaty because of the way, not only the way it's animated, but also the reactions that you have when two martial artists, if you've ever seen like really good martial artists either do a routine or martial art dance in front of each other, it's almost like they're not touching each other, but they're totally fighting with each other and actually training with each other. But it looks so smooth that you're almost like, this is unbelievable. I don't even believe that they're hitting each other. And they might not be, but it's so fluid that you just kind of run with it. And, okay, I'm done sparring at least. You almost kind of run with it. And in Shenmue's case, that almost seems to be the deal, at least with this demo, because you're a martial artist fighting martial artists. And that in itself almost feels like natural, because when someone actually hits you, even when they're hitting you, you almost see Ryo counter. Like, it looks like he's countering even though he's like getting hit. And vice versa. You hit somebody, when you hit them, they actually do react pretty well. And if you don't hit them or they block it, it kind of floats off of them because they're kind of used to it. So what's funny is first time I played this, and I did a live stream on the Shenmue fans channel. You should subscribe to that group too. We're a group of us Shenmue fans that get together and promote Shenmue off of that channel. So definitely, if you're a fan here, subscribe there. But also, they were telling me in that chat that I had last night that this is like Angry Birds backwards, playing this. And then I always think of that one comment, like, yeah, it is like Angry Birds backwards. So him, thank you for that comment. And yes, I'm pretty much in the Jersey area, so I'm close to New York City, which is a place that I'm at all the time. So if you're around, who knows, we can meet up. We do occasional Shenmue meetup, so I love to meet you guys. Skill Jim, welcome. First time catching me live, huh? It's a pleasure to always speak to you and have you here live. This is good. Angry Birds backwards, happy frogs. Exactly. Welcome, Oregon Pacifist. Again, I'm getting my endurance level up, so I'm going to do this 1 or 2 more times, and we can just kind of go from there. So horse stance, again, getting that endurance up, and I'm going to do the 1-inch punch a couple times. Then I'm going to fight a couple of guys in the basically the dojo, and then I'm going to go right from there to just finish this off. But I mean, if you think about this, how fun is this really? Pressing a button, staying level is really this something that you want in a game? Is how you're gonna pass your time? Yeah. And that's part of the immersion of Shenmue that you actually feel when you've been a fan for years and a fan here now, because the fact that you just can't go to an opponent and just destroy him from like the first moment that you see him, especially if you played Shenmue 100 times, is what it's like, almost like Yu Suzuki's way of saying, slow down. This is about martial arts. This is about training. This is about discipline. And this is about your want and need to progress the story. So we're going to slow down you players by saying, hey, train. It focuses on the martial arts in the game. Now, will new players be like, why do I have to do this? Well, these side distractions are actually more fun than they seem. Or at least it looks kind of boring here, but it's actually kind of fun, and it's simple. Anyone can pick up and play these little like side distractions inside games. And all the mini games at Shenmue 3, even in this demo, I had a heck of a time with playing those mini games last night, especially Lucky Hit. I'm a sucker for Lucky Hit. I see a stand, I gotta go walk up to it and pretty much give all my money and let the game take all my currency money, to where I'm unbelievably disappointed. I think that if Lucky Hit was one of those mobile app games that had you actually let me pay attention to this. If it was one of those games where you basically can have like in-app purchases, I probably would lose a lot of money playing Lucky Hit, unfortunately. But focusing back on this discipline right here, I am getting my levels up, and to me, this is where the RPG element of Shenmue comes in, especially with the fighting, so that you gotta go back to basics. Especially if you've been a fan for many years, you gotta go back to basics and realize that Shenmue is totally about, oh, I messed up there. Shenmue is totally about, and I'm frozen while I'm doing this. Now give me a quick second, I'll unfreeze myself, but I think I have to practice this training a little bit more and finish it before I unfreeze myself. Until then, you can see my beautiful smile, or semi-beautiful smile. Alright, now let me unfreeze my video a little. I know, at least I froze at a good point, right? Because that would be devastating if I had an awkward little face. And I definitely don't want that to be the case. So, I should be back. Sorry, guys. Anyway, that was quite funny. So I'm going to do the training for 1-inch punch one more time to, again, get that stamina up, get my kung fu up, and and work on it a little bit more. Thanks for letting me know, guys. And Saboski, yeah, I can't believe Shenmue 3 is an actual thing. I have a controller in my hand, and this game's coming out for PS4 and PC, but right now I'm holding an Xbox One controller in my hand. I do not own an Xbox One, but I do have an Xbox One controller. because to me, it just, the feel of it and the button layout itself, like you see A, B on the screen, to me that's reminiscent of Dreamcast. And I kind of go back to that. To me, Dreamcast and Shenmue go together hand in hand. So the fact that this can kind of bring me to the nostalgic feels of Shenmue on Dreamcast is kind of, I almost wish I had a Shenmue 3 Dreamcast disc, and I could just kind of show that off and be like, hey, on Dreamcast. Now there was one of the purchases that you could make off of one of the sites was to actually have the Shenmue actual case in a Dreamcast case, which I would have loved, but unfortunately I didn't pick that one up in time. It was sold out by the time I was like ready to pick it up. So no more 1-inch punch. I think Ryo's ready to face a couple of those masters and pick up his game. Now I'm going to show you what and why I focused on the elbow attack. Why did I pass him by? I almost felt like I was gonna pick a fight with them right there. Like, hey, you want to fight? Let's go. You have to talk to the dojo master first. But what do you guys think? The soundtrack so far sounds incredible. It does sound unbelievably incredible. The title screen menu was actually just, I had to listen to it for a few minutes and just kind of get immersed in it. Now this is another thing about the fighting that you have to keep in mind. Keep your energy level up by eating food. That in itself makes it that much more of a struggle. Brings you back to basics when it comes to combat, and that's important. So having that, again, immersion feeling, like you gotta be ready for each fight, really pulls you in. Did you see that you're able to interact with marked objects? I did see others play that, but I've never actually interacted with an object myself lately because I've just been so focused on the fighting engine. Now this trainer right here isn't much of a hassle, but watch what my elbow assault does to him. Watch. Boom, knocked him the hell out. That's why I trained it, because I wanted to be able to knock out an opponent right away. Can you change clothing? I saw Ryo without a jacket. Yes, you can. In the settings menu, it allows you to change your clothes. And I wish it was almost like a little bit immersive, a little bit more immersive, but than just going through a settings menu. But here it is. I can go to jacket or no jacket Ryo. So no jacket Ryo, I just took my shirt off. Now let's get sweaty. Just like when I used to do that in the Hazuki Dojo back in Yokosuka. Here we go. Good thing I'm not frozen. I have to check back at my monitor every couple of seconds to make sure that I'm not stuck like that. I'm not stuck now. Alright, Black Tiger is going to give me an appropriate challenge. Now Black Tiger, which is the second master here, he's pretty challenging, but here's my little trick, and thankfully to the elbow assault that I powered up, that actually makes it easier. And the blue shirt's for sale in the store. Looks good. I saw you, Oregon Pacifist, with the blue shirt walking around peacefully. That was a pretty good video. Definitely subscribe to him if you're interested. Pow! See, look, elbow assault completely took him out. He's gonna run at me again. Now, if I time it just right, I can get him to just run right at my at my elbow assault and just fall down. Barely touch me. He's gonna run at me again. And then I just time it and take him out. Look at it. In a couple hits, he's already almost done. Now he does a couple of moves like, okay. Pooh. I think he has a little bit more fight in him. But he didn't last a lick. And that's why I powered it up. It almost seems like Ryo's having a much easier time, at least with training. And that's what I loved about the game. Even I've been playing for just a few minutes and already I've skilled up, but the skill didn't only come from just me 5 seconds. It came from me actually trial and error, fighting and playing and almost feeling like I'm playing Shenmue, this series, for the first time, because it's this whole totally different and I think more engaged fighting engine. You can't just button mash. If you button mash in this game, you're gonna get knocked out almost immediately, right away. And that in itself can actually put off some people where they just want to start off the game button mashing. Now, we haven't played the absolute beginning of this game, so who knows how it's gonna turn out. But slow down. Give it time. Again, you give it that time and it's gonna actually come back to reward you. See, I tried to hit him with the counter elbow assault. Now he's completely surrounding me. And I had to like back up, and now my energy's down a little bit, and this is why you gotta increase endurance. Again, knocked him down. Keeping my distance. And this, who knows how other people probably fight differently. But I fight with this back away, let them do a couple of moves, they run towards you, and time it just right. Elbow assault will knock them right down, and it'll give you time to get up again and get your footing back to get some distance and hit them. Boom, done. Yeah, it's actually a good strategy, Oregon Pacifist. I've been using it in this demo to just really almost destroy everybody who I fight. It is a bit cheesy, I must admit, but this game is quite difficult for trading, and I actually love that. But it doesn't always work either. So if you think that you're gonna have an easy time by doing what I'm doing, it's not as easy, especially when you're actually fighting the merchant. You have such a small space where he's located. He's gonna corner you and just pummel you and destroy you, so you need a good defense to be able to take him out. And then this next battle against White Tiger, it's not as easy, if at all possible. At times I was fighting him and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna fight the merchant because White Tiger's a little tough. So if you think you've got a good strategy, they still have the ability to take you out. Again, just something that I love about the complexity of the engine, to be able to put you through that. So I'm gonna try the elbow assault strategy again, but look, blocked it. He's not falling for it. So I'm getting my distance again, see if he'll run towards me. With the right timing, I got him, but it barely took anything off of him. But look at my energy. My energy is not what it needs to be. And taking my distance and trying again, seeing what I could do. Boom, got him again. So you can use elbow assault to knock him, then use low kick to get him while he's laying down. The reason I haven't done that, besides not knowing that you can do that, because again, this is new to me, is that I want to create distance while he's on the ground so I can get him again in a run. So when he runs, oh, see? Bad timing, and he'd wail on me. Wail on me. This guy's tough. And again, not enough distance, and he's just eating me for breakfast. Again, he gets you. The strategy works, but because you can't move as fast as you used to in the previous games, it's not as easy. And look, he didn't go down. We'll see, we got into a tussle. We got into a tussle. And he got me out. See what I mean? You can't use that strategy all the time. This game almost forces you to grow, because it's like, if you think that you're going to do the same thing to me, you got another thing coming. Now I feel that I've at least trained enough to actually go and play the actual Fight the Merchant and then go from there. Now my energy's low. Again, you have to take energy into consideration, and that's, again, you just saw a few minutes of me playing, and that's how deep the game is. I'm doing one thing with the game. I'm only fighting and focusing on fighting. I am completely disregarding so much that there is to do in the game besides just the fights. But I've been entertained for this most of the day with just these combat, just getting better at combat. When the game comes out, I want to at least be familiar with the combat, and I gotta say, I'm really liking it. Maybe those didn't like it in the beginning because it's the button mashing that you can't do. And even in Shenmue and Virtual Fighter as well, the original Shenmues, you could somewhat get away with button mashing and pull off some cool stuff and get familiar with it, but then it has a deepness to it. It's very deep. Well, I have not explored how deep that the fighting engine is in Shenmue 3, but so far the immersion in it, so adding the more elements, not just combat, but adding the element of getting your energy up, adding the element of these different types of training, like the 1-inch punch or standing there in that tree position. That's what brings you in, and that's what I think was the intention of when we're switching the fighting engine. We're gonna switch the whole pretty much from ground up on how fighting works, not just training, but incorporating the training into combat. So this is what I didn't do before. I didn't look at the ability to take these maps and look into everything in the beginning. So get rich quick. Are herbs really worth that much? Guess I'll take it. So that's my first time doing that stuff. What's this? Isn't this... Okay. Red horse. What's this? See, this is stuff I haven't seen before either, but this is very Shenmue. The fact that you can interact with objects and for no purpose other than like looking at it, and the fact that you can look at it is what Shenmue's about, really. And this type of first-person perspective that I'm showing right now, it may seem somewhat new, but it's actually been in the Shenmue series since launch. Being able to actually Shenmue 2, it was really introduced as something that you can do in specific rooms where you had to look for certain items, especially when you were looking to find Zu Yanda or Yanduzu. Anyway, let's proceed. This game has not only a lot of possibilities in combat, but a lot of possibilities in immersion and story. You talk about open world games, and the one thing about open world games that is pretty common is the fact that they're huge and they have you interact with like different things. But Shenmue wasn't about the size of the environment, but it was about the immersion of the environments that you're in and everything that you can do in the environments. Get to know people, talk to everyone. More lines of dialogue were recorded for this game than the other two Shenmue games, which to me is an amazing feat. Shenmue 3 does look great. Definitely Gasmania. And I can't believe I'm actually playing it now. I consider this look that Ryo has. This look is the Sega Saturn version of Ryo. Because in the Sega Saturn version, he had no jacket. It was just a t-shirt and jeans. Alright, here we go. Round 2. Can I beat him? I've had some training. See, this space is a lot tighter, so that elbow assault counter that I was working on didn't quite work. Boom, but I knocked him down, get that space, so he runs at me again. But he blocked it. He blocked it. Boom, but he didn't block it that time. Again, trying to work on that elbow assault power. Get that distance between us, so he runs, and he's too smart. There's no way I could beat him easily. But I'm trying. and I run out of space. Just because he doesn't run at me doesn't mean I can't get him with it, but it's a little bit tougher. And just because he runs at me doesn't mean I can actually get him with elbow assault. Alright, here we go. Boom, got him. That's all it took. So now I'm pretty good. Kind of like Metal Gear. Actually, that brings up an interesting point that I noticed between Yu Suzuki and Hideo Kojima when it comes to their games, at least between 2015 and 2019. In 2015, and this is just a side story, this doesn't have anything to do with this, but in 2015, Shenmue 3 Kickstarter was announced at E3. Not cleared the demo. So, it was announced at E3 during a time where Hideo Kojima was trying to publish the excitement as much as possible for Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. And Shenmue 3 almost like took that excitement. I'm a huge Metal Gear fan as well as Shenmue fan, and I could remember completely forgetting about Metal Gear because of the Shenmue 3 announcement, even though it was coming out in literally just a few months. Fast forward to today, now we've got Death Stranding coming out at pretty much the exact same time as Shenmue 3. So it's almost like Hideo Kojima's like, okay, you took the excitement away from my E3 announcement or the E3 for Metal Gear. Well, I'm gonna steal some of that Shenmue 3 thunder because that's it. That's a time where a lot of good games are being released, and the fact that Metal Gear and Shenmue are connected even in that way when it comes to release dates, it's like I see what you did there, Hideo. But much love to both developers. Yu Suzuki and, of course, Hideo Kojima. So, there you go. That's what I think about the fighting engine, and that's what I think has improved about the fighting engine. It's just one different, but I think really good move forward for the series. Because you can't stay... A lot of the things that this series now has is a bit nostalgic. It's a bit kind of like brings you back to like the way the faces move, the way the cameras move when everyone speaks. It's reminiscent of old. To have everything exactly the same is almost like the game hasn't progressed too much. So the fact that they actually had to mature the fighting engine due to, of course, licensing, but also due to the fact that you want it to feel fresh and new and not be too easy for us veterans, which darn. But even then, so I still didn't have too much of a hard time with this version. So let me lower the audio a little bit in case you guys can't hear me. And I did leave the Japanese voices on because I played usually with the English voices, and now I wanted to hear and feel reminiscent of the Japanese voices because that's how I played Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast when it was released. But the fighting engine itself matured for modern audience. I mean, and this trailer looks freaking amazing too, the way the graphics were upgraded. But also what was unfortunately removed is, or at least it seems like it was removed, and I'm pretty sure it are the arcades that took place in Shenmue 1 and 2. So you won't have Hang On, you won't have Afterburner, you won't have any of those Yu Suzuki classics, and that's partially because, like Outrun, for example. How could I forget Outrun? Possibly that's a good thing, because what sense would it make for an arcade machine to be in this pretty much desolate area of China, where they really are not unfamiliar with a lot of what modern societies, at least 80s society, was used to back then. Now you had the arcades appear in weird places in Shenmue 2. Like I remember right outside of a fighting area in Kowloon, there was just a single alone Afterburner arcade in like the middle of nowhere for you to play, and it didn't seem like it was connected to anything. That kind of pulled you out. I mean, it was still cool, but it kind of pulled you out of the immersion. So the fact that they're missing is understandable, at least from a story's perspective, and it won't pull you out of it. Like, oh, I'm in an arcade, but there are no arcade games. Well, no, that's not the way it works, at least with this area in China. And the fact that they still have those mini games that were originally developed for Shenmue is all the fun you need. You're already playing a video game that's produced by Yu Suzuki, so that in itself, I'll take it. So I'm gonna go to the comments right now. Let's see what we're all saying. Love this game so much. Definitely do. Finished the game 8 times. Vangel Sandwich. This was my 4th time finishing the game. I played it like I said, at midnight last night. I didn't finish it because I had no idea when it would end, and I'm just there trying to do as much as possible, and I wasn't progressing the story. But then this morning I got up and I'm like, let me actually get everyone away from me for a brief moment and focus on playing Shenmue and really being involved in the immersion of the experience of playing Shenmue. Because when you play Shenmue, you really have to just sink your teeth into the world. And then when you actually turn off the system, where you close the application, you're like, where am I? It's like virtual reality without virtual reality, which is pretty cool. Love to see people loving this game. It's masterpiece. Love so much too. It's a masterpiece that we haven't tasted yet. It's a masterpiece that we have. This is like an advertisement to the game. This is a taste and saying, hey, this is what you guys are in for. I hope you're excited, because we haven't seen anything yet. Now, I know some hackers out there are looking to see what other files are immersed in the code, and I believe that we're able to put up some of these videos online, which is kind of cool too. But the game itself, at least from the reactions that I've seen on Twitter, and everyone who has the hacker code, not the hacker code, excuse me, the download code for this demo, has shown nothing but love for the game and has shown an absolute appreciation for the game. And one of the things that I mentioned previously in my last stream and now is this, that they've been giving out the code. Those who don't have a beefed enough PC to be able to play the game on their system, rather than selling, I saw one person try to sell it for like $20. But most of what I've seen is like, here's the code, have it, enjoy. If you're a true Shenmue fan with a computer, enjoy. I've seen hundreds of those tweets just given out, and that's the type of community that you want to be a part of. Those that want to make the community even larger, and those that want to play it, say, here, take my code, play it. I invested in this, and I want you to actually have the time too. So that I actually completely love. Mark Loomis, any prediction on how Chai will make his appearance? Now, to me, it makes sense to me that Chai would have, if he does show up, and I don't have any inside information on the story or anything. I'm just kind of going by what I know of the story, and it makes sense that Chai would actually hook up with Lan Di, and when Lan Di's there, Chai would be with him. And Chai is kind of like the outside, the person who actually is like Lan Di's eyes. So Lan Di doesn't have to be everywhere, but if he needs something to be investigated, Chai's going to be there. Now, in a lot of different trailers earlier on, it showed that Rio's there and that the village was attacked, and they're looking for who possibly did it, or a thug or whatnot. Even in this demo, they refer to that. And they're looking for the mirror. Now, if a mirror is being sought, right, who do you think is actually in charge of those thugs, or trying to get those thugs to get the mirror? Could be anybody. Who knows? Maybe it's some people who think that the mirror has value. But to my assumption as well, it could also be Lan Di, assuming that the mirror, that the other Phoenix mirror, which he didn't realize was in Iwa Hazuki's location, he probably thought maybe it's located in that area of China. But why would he think it's there? Iwao, before going back home, was actually in Guilin. He was there training And it's possible that with one of the mirrors being there, with Iwao, possibly at the time. Now, again, I'm speculating that it might have been left there. If not with Iwao, because Iwao, Landi assumed that Iwao had one of the mirrors. So who had the other mirror? Obviously, Iwao had both mirrors, but Landi's assuming that the other mirror was left in Guilin, and that's why he's after it. And who's his eyes to actually look for it? It's going to be Chai. So Chai is there with a group of thugs, or independently, because he always kind of acted on his own in the original Shenmue. So he's looking to see what's going on, to see who's there. And when Chai sees Ryo, that in itself is a clue, maybe even to Landi, which would bring Landi out, is there's something special here, and this boy might be after the same mirror that we're after. So that in itself could actually possibly bring Landi out to be like, I should have taken care of you before, but you didn't have to be involved in this. Who knows? And at the end of Shenmue 2, spoiler by the way, for the ending of Shenmue 2, Landi and Ryo Hazuki locked eyes. Landi, you would bet that Landi knew exactly who he was and what he was doing. So in seeing that this kid is again going to places where Landi's already at, he might not know his intentions, and he might assume that, he might be out for revenge. So he obviously knows that. But how is it that Ryo is in places before Landi even knows he's there? And it could be, Landi might at least be suspecting that he might be looking for the Phoenix Mirror, unbeknownst to him that he already has the Phoenix Mirror. So that's my theory. So I started a Shenmue group on Xbox because I want to connect with as many of the Shenmue community as possible, and I'm a part of the Shenmue 500k. Some great people giving their codes out, love it. Yes, Gazmania, just like I mentioned before, the community growing larger. And if you want to be a part of this community, or at least a part of these videos, definitely subscribe to my channel, subscribe to anyone who talks about the franchise. We're trying to get as big as possible and definitely get the word out there, because we've only got, the countdown's on. We've got a month and a half away before we're actually feeling it and we're actually playing this game. And then we might we all might disconnect ourselves for a little bit because we're all out playing the game for a couple seconds before coming back in and be like, oh my gosh. And I imagine live streams, just like the demo, live streams are going to be rampant on YouTube. My live stream is going to start launch day on midnight. So, all right. 50 days to go. Yep, Skill Gym, 50 days to go. Bob, where's Landi's Madare? I'm either thinking you mean mirror. I'm thinking you mean mirror, but Landi's mirror, he definitely has it with him, and he wants the treasure, and he wants the power that the mirrors themselves will grant you. Now, I talked about this before in my previous stream as well. Is like, a theory is, could there be more than two mirrors? Phoenix mirror and a dragon mirror. I have nothing to base that on. My original assumption of there might be possibly more than just two mirrors was the fact that there were three mirrors spinning in the loading screen. They were all the Phoenix mirror, and of course you have three because this is Shenmue 3, right? But I also thought, could that be a hint that there's more than just two mirrors? Will only two mirrors uncover the pathway that you need to get where you need to go, or the power of the Chi-Yu-Min that's locked away? Who knows? Alright. Ciao. I'll cry when I put the game on the console. Speaking of again, when I was watching James stream, I watched his stream today actually because I didn't want to watch it live. I wanted to actually experience this game for the first time myself. But James, I felt what he was feeling when watching his video. Not so much when I was playing it for the first time, because when I'm playing it for the first time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm playing it, I was playing it with you guys, and I'm like, the pressure of being on live. But when James was playing it, I felt like nobody else mattered. The world didn't matter. It's like the hopes and dreams of one man's vision and one man's life was like saying, here you go. This is for you. This is because of all your hard work. And that's not just for him, but that's anybody who took part in that. So Bob Madare is Italian for mother. Yeah. I figured that was mom, but I'm like, why is he talking about Landi's mom? I have no idea what Landi's mom would be, but I'm pretty sure, and I could assume that Landi's father was obviously killed by Iwao. So his mom, that's interesting question. Maybe she might pop up here. Who knows? But what relevance she would have to the story, I'm not sure. It seems to be mothers seem to be almost a missing feature or a missing subject in Shenmue. Ryo didn't have a mother, and they only presented his father. He had a nanny, but he didn't really have a mother. And then you have Lan Di, whose father was killed by Iwao, but it didn't talk about his mother, right? And then you had the two orphans, who was Dao Li Shou's. Always forget her name, her actual name, but let's just call it Dao Li Shou for this, or Li Xiao Tao. They didn't mention. They mentioned her brother, of course, in their anger towards the fact that someone killed their parents, but no mother figure was ever really shown, like an actual mom. So Shuing, thank you, Shuing. I always forget her name, which is bad. I'm horrible with names. I actually saw this video where you're not a true Shenmue fan unless you can name 20 characters in 20 seconds from Shenmue. Yeah, I think I'm kicked out of the Shenmue fan club if that's the case, because my recollection of names is horrible. So what else do we got? Chao says, Yu Suzuki says that we'll discover what happened in the past with Ryo's father and other questions. I do believe that, and I've made a previous video on this, I do believe that there were hints of his past in this area of China when you're searching Ryo's basement and you actually discover a picture of Iwao and a friend of his. And I believe that friend of his was actually Landi's dad. And something happened in Guilin, some sort of tragedy that led to Iwao either mistakenly or purposely killing Landi's dad, or maybe something happened where it looked like he killed him. Who knows? We haven't gotten the story revealed from that perspective, but something happened, and that's why this whole revenge plot took place with Lan Di killing Iwao, and now Ryo looking for Lan Di. It's almost like the cycle is continuing, and who knows if Lan Di's killed by Ryo, which I don't think will happen. Does Lan Di have any siblings? One of the theories that I had was that one of the siblings of Lan Di could possibly be Shenhua. But that's just an off-the-wall, me thinking next level possibility of the fact that Shenhua is actually Lan Di's daughter. So you never know what where this story could go. So, but all in all, I guess I've sidetracked a little bit to my main point. So I'm gonna actually call this stream a wrap. Thank you guys for joining me. I want to thank everyone: Chow, Bob, Gasmania, Oregon Pacifist, Skill Jim, everyone who joined in this chat, all 17 of you, which I see live right now, but everyone who joined. I actually had an absolute blast playing with everyone, immersing myself in this weekend. I feel like I'm a part of a big community that we've all been playing Shenmue 3, finally the backer trial version, and will be so lucky in just a short amount of time to play this. Now I've got a video coming up a nice little comedic video coming up regarding this Shenmue demo. So definitely stay tuned to this channel for that. You're gonna definitely see Game Sales Guy make an appearance once again. I hope you liked my previous videos. If you haven't seen them, I would definitely suggest subscribing and then checking out some of my old videos if you like Shenmue, because that stuff, I have fun making it, I have fun talking to you guys, and I have fun like just taking part of everything. So if nothing else, like I always said, today you can like, share, and as always, make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.